June of 2009, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. I had just finished a 30-year stint of being a teacher. My husband was still employed by a major oil company, so we had good insurance. So I go in for my first infusion, and if you've not been around someone that has cancer, it is really a frightening time because you immediately think, well, I immediately think you're going to die, but it's all the unknown. So I go in and they connect everything to the port, and I'm watching and I'm trying to visualize, and I overhear this conversation of a man and a wife and the nurse in the chair next to me. They were self-insured, and they were trying to decide whether they could afford the 4 treatments that she needed, but that their insurance would only pay for 2. And that was a very eye-opening moment for me. The fact that somebody would have to stand there, sit there, and have this discussion about whether they could truly afford medical care. The next aha moment was when we discussed whether I needed to have genetic testing to protect my children, my daughter, my sons. This is before the ACA. And we had a long debate about whether I wanted to have my children labeled of having, if it should prove that my breast cancer was BRCA positive, whether I would then force them into being uninsurable. And we waited a year and a half until after the ACA to where I could be tested when insurance finally paid for it, because at that time it was a very expensive test, and I didn't have to worry about my daughter being labeled. And then we come along and my husband retires and we now are on retirement and we're still covered by private insurance, but the election happens. And I'm sitting there going, I'm the uninsurable. And I'm 8 years out, but Monday when I go have my 6-month checkup, it's a crapshoot. And I thought, what happens? What happens to our dreams if suddenly I have no insurance? We planned for our future, so we have resources, but what about people that don't have resources? What about people that don't have things to fall back on and suddenly there is no insurance? And then I'm also the magic age of 61, so suddenly if I have no insurance and there's no gap insurance and I'm too young for Medicare, what happens? But it's not only the fear for myself, but it's the fear for those like me who worry every day whether the cancer or whatever illness is coming back. And I've used this phrase a lot. I have one small voice, and my one small voice is making phone calls every day. And I will call the offices until I get a live person. And I do believe that we all have one small voice. And it is sending emails, and it is calling, and it is voicing the personal stories, your own, people that your friends, your family, because we have to put a face to what truly is this tragedy of our health care being taken away to fulfill a campaign promise.